Before we begin, congratulations to all of the winners of the giveaway. The prizes have gone out. Thank you all for your very kind words, and I'll keep doing my best to put out better content as we go on. A couple weeks ago, I asked you for some questions, and here are my answers. Chris asks, you did a review on the Hako switches and the box Royals, and you didn't really seem too pleased with either. Do you think you'd ever try Hako Royals? They are extremely tactile, but they have a nice and rounded, but extremely big bump. Extremely similar to Topper 55 gram. Not on a full board, but I did get to try Hako Royals when I was doing a build for someone else. It was just on a numpad, so not at all enough to form a full opinion, but I did like it much better than either the Hakos or the Royals by themselves. It felt a lot more refined and nuanced than the Royals. I think the bump is still a little too big for me for everyday use, but definitely an improvement. Thomas Raymond asks, what are your thoughts on vintage keyboards? Do you have a favorite? I don't have many, but my favorite is my Focus 2001 with White Alps. I just love the way it sounds. I think the main appeal in vintage keyboards for me is that you kinda have to work to get one at a good price. I especially like it when the old stuff is compatible with the new stuff. Sort of like a completing the gap in the mechanical keyboard's history kind of deal. Uros Riznik asks, what's the best programmable keyboard for a first-time buyer? My budget is tight, so I don't want to spend all my savings. It definitely depends on the budget and the degree of programming you want to do. If you just want to customize a couple keys in layers, I'd recommend the An Pro 2. If you want a little more customizability, the Poker 3 is a classic choice. If you want a fully programmable board, it's actually not incredibly expensive to build your own. Going with a plastic plateless build with Gate-Round Browns, I was able to do a build configuration for under $90. With all that said, your best bet may be to hang out at Mech Market, keeping your eye out for a good deal. RPD asks, what's your favorite switch? This one is pretty tough because I see merit in a lot of different switches. I'll just give a few. In clickies, I like box whites. They're light, crisp, and sounds amazing with SA keycaps. I found the thick click bar switches to be a little much. In linears, I like Gate-On yellows for their weight. In tactiles, I like 67 gram Zelios that's been generously looped. I like to loop even the tactile legs to reduce the tactility a bit. Along the same vein, this is going to be controversial, but I also like Cherry MX Browns. The pre-retooled ones were really scratchy and gross, but the new ones, like the ones in my Race 3, are really smooth and offers that subtle tactility that I enjoy. I also like making Franken switches, but they get pretty complicated easily, so I've left them out here. Suri asks, how many keyboards do you own, and what are your top 3 favorite keyboards, including the ones which you don't own? I think I have around 20 or so keyboards in various states of disrepair. Here's a shot of all of them. Of the ones that I own, my top 3 are in order: Minivan with 68 gram Zelios looped with Tribusys 3204, currently using keycaps from a Race 3. My E6 V2 Round 2 with Zelios stems and vintage cherry housing with the same 68 gram springs in brass plate, currently wearing GMK 9009. Win keyless b.face X2 with looped Mod H's with sanded down keycaps from an old G80. These are my top 3 that I don't own, purely based on aesthetics. The QnA, I hope to own one of these at some point. LZ Ergo, one of my personal grails. And probably some hypothetical keyboard with thin bezels that are really high profile like the Minivan. Blues Z asks, personal question, what job? Programmer. Elon Brusk says, not really a question, but a setup video would be cool when you set everything up in your new place. Sure. I got a tiny studio going with studio lights as a studio lights. Here's my desk with stuff. I use a refurbished LG 34UM95C monitor, some super cheap Logitech speakers, and an MX Master 2S. Here's my computer. I don't game much, so I don't have a graphics card, and this used to be custom water cooled, but I'm hoping to build a Threadripper system once I start getting paid, so it's just on the stock cooler for now. It's a i5 4690K with 16 gigs of blue, and the cables on the power supply I sleeved myself. Here's my mic. It's a blue snowball with a foot of a pantyhose to act as an ineffective pop filter. I'll try and switch to a better setup soon. Here's my shelf thing that's mostly keyboard stuff. On the bottom are these old boards that I very rarely use. Then some finished builds, couple parts lying around and stuff. I have this big bin full of keyboard parts and this other bin full of keycaps. Here's my dining table, which I use for filming. I use an old banged up Manfrotto tripod from eBay, along with the cheapest slider I can find on Amazon. Currently I shoot on my phone, the LG V35, but I hope to get a real camera soon. As for upcoming content, there are a lot of products to review, but it's just hard to find the time nowadays. Anyway, I'll probably review this 60% case next, and then one of these. Leave a comment down below of which you'd like to see first, and I may or may not listen to you. I do want to show off a couple interesting things too. Here's my big switch with a case from Woodkeys. I've been meaning to do something cool with it, maybe as an apartment-wide lights kill switch, but realistically, I'll never get to it. I also have this new Mini. I stripped the anode off of it with oven cleaner and started getting it down to a mirror finish. I have put like 20 hours of hand sanding into it and I'm still nowhere close. This is probably another one of those things that I do nothing with forever. Speaking of which, so many of my keyboards are unassembled ever since I got a desoldering station. This G80-1800 has a TKC-1800 PCB in it, but I don't really know what I'd use it for if I assembled it. This old NCR G81 case originally had MY switches, so I threw the whole assembly away. Maybe I can find a PCB for it down the line. This banged up Ergodox Infinity is another one. I really dislike the layout on these, so I don't know if I'm ever going to use it enough to do a review. This MF108, I think I'll probably install Xilinx to use at work. But yeah, a lot of potentially interesting stuff coming up, including more keycap profile reviews. Anyway, thanks as always for watching, and hopefully I'll come back next week with a real video.